Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between a film and TV podcast. We're your host. I am Daniel Parra.
And I'm Erwin.
And number one, thank you so much for listening and watching. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Erwin, what are we reviewing?
Smile!
Two. We just can't stop. Anyway, guys, this is going to be a full spoiler review. So, if you're wondering what we thought, I'm going to ask you really quick. Erwin, with this movie, did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
I loved it.
I did too. We can't stop agreeing here. I think
Did we see this movie together?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we saw the first one together either.
No.
You had some catching up to do on that first one, right?
Why'd you say it like that? What?
It made me frown. But what is Smile 2 about?
I don't know.
I'll go ahead and
Okay,
I'll do it. So, after the events of the first film, which is how this movie begins, Skye Riley, the pop star, one fateful night, essentially.
Wait, did we ever review the first one?
We didn't, actually.
Okay, we should probably talk about the first one, or what it is.
Yeah.
And then, because I think it leads into the second one very well.
It does. So, in the first one, I'm going to have you describe that one then, because it's been a couple of years since I've seen it.
So, in the first one, the main character, she's a psychiatrist, I believe. And basically, she works at this clinic, and she gets this patient. And this patient has developed this curse where she can't stop seeing the last person that she witnessed murder in front of.
Right.
Yeah, and so I guess the curse itself makes it where the persons and the people that you love and care about kill themselves in front of you over and over again to a point of insanity, and they smile before they do.
Yeah.
And basically, and then the psychiatrist gets that curse herself, and it's just many events of her leading to the point where at the end of the movie, of the first one, where she ends up killing herself and affecting her, her ex or her ex-boyfriend or friend or something that was helping her. That's right, yeah. That was helping her with the curse as well.
Now, I gotta ask you, because I think we have different opinions on the first movie.
I think so.
What do you think of that movie?
I like the premise,
yeah.
But I thought the beginning was very slow, and I didn't really like the main character so much.
Okay.
And I didn't like a lot of the side characters of the movie as well.
That's fair. That's a fair critique. When I first saw it, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but something happened with me where I could not stop thinking about it after I saw it. It kind of left a really lasting impression on me, and then I sort of thought over the last couple of years, I think I loved that movie. At the end of the day, that's how sometimes your opinions change.
Yeah,
and I do also want to touch on the topic of jump scares in this video in particular, because people have different takes on it. I have a very specific sort of opinion, and I think you do too. So I'll ask you in a second.
Whoa!
But
what's your opinion?
Well, if we're going to get into that now, because the Smile movies are not just that. Some people say that they are. If some people have a critique of that, they say that these movies are just sort of roller coaster filmmaking, that they're just horror movies designed to be jump scares. But I would argue against the fact that I think that they're fun, but I do also think that they are about... Yes, trauma again. I know that a whole
when a horror movie shows generational trauma,
yeah,
hell yeah.
Again, you're finally.
Awesome. Yes, this is what I hope for.
But this goes about it in a more kind of fun way. They're
I guess when each character got infected from both of these movies, the main ones, they just showcase a lot of what happened to them in the past, and they just bring it back to them over and over again.
I think something about these is they're very fun, but they're very mean. They are very mean-spirited movies. Yes. Especially since this is full spoilers, even the movie, its extent of how much it's willing to fuck with the main character, and we'll talk about the second one, all the way leading up until the ending.
Dude, the ending was so good.
Yeah, and we'll get to all that. But I gotta ask you, jump scares in general. What is your take on that?
If they show the thing that's supposed to be scary, then I say it works. But other than that, majority of the times, I don't think they work.
Yeah.
just because they showcase things with like a loud noise with that's not the actual horror element of the movie.
Now, and can I tell you why I think that, yes, not every single one here I can excuse. Sometimes they do that.
Yeah.
But these movies have this sort of tangible feeling of you kind of losing your mind with the characters.
Yes.
I think, I would argue, I kind of wish you would have seen the first one in the theater because they are very disorienting with the sound design of
Yeah, because I
them.
can't even imagine how... Because I think the second one itself, I can't even imagine watching it at home.
Yeah.
Compared to how I watched the first one at home.
Mm.
Because the second one was so... You're right. Because I felt so immersed into her mind that I felt I was losing my mind too. I was like, is this even real?
No, I genuinely, the third act of that entire movie, did it even happen?
Yeah.
In your...
Dude, oh
like,
my god, the third act. I can't. I love the third act so much.
I did as well, especially when you kind of realize, wait, every single thing that I just saw... And that's really hard to do. Sometimes that pisses people off even. But these movies are able to do this thing where, I get it, not everybody loves the... People are more split on the first one than they are the second.
Yes.
They both have good reviews, but the second one has great reviews. And we're just going to add on to it. I loved the second one quite a bit.
I love the second one too.
I do think it's a better movie. I think it's scarier. I think it's more assured in its craft again.
It starts off strong.
Yeah.
Very strong.
With that opening from the first one,
yes.
I couldn't even fully remember, but you were thrown essentially right back into...
Yeah, because one of the other things about the curse that nobody lives longer than a week.
Right.
Most people is 4 days.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for
who knows how long,
like
right?
Years, they say. And I don't know, it's such a weird thing because I think in the first one they didn't really mention how to get... Or no, they did. They did mention how they get rid of it. It's the same way in the second one how they mentioned it too. Like you have to kill somebody.
That's you
have to murder somebody and then have somebody else witness it, and then that way you can pass it on to them. Which
is what he's trying to do at the beginning. The first one, if you remember the rules, it's immediately kind of intense once you're... Because you know what he's doing, you know that it's following.
Because you need to please like the spirit
yeah.
itself in order it to be passed on.
And something I love about that is you can tell that it's already affecting him because instantly there's this visual in the background where something like a body is just on fire and it's headless. And I thought that was such a striking visual because you know what's scary about that? They don't ever explain what that was or why that was there.
Oh, it's because from the first one.
No, but the thing was, if you just pick up on that...
Yeah.
I like that because I didn't watch them back to back. You did?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm like, oh shoot, that's amazing.
Yeah. Another thing I like, Parker Finn, his directorial debut was that first one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think it's kind of crazy, even if like I love the first one, but it instantly has style. I know that some people had a complaint about, yes, he does have an affinity for the upside down shot, which means that they're in hell, like the whole visual communication. And there are a lot in that first one.
I always thought that it meant like, okay, is this where the part where we're getting controlled?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I always thought, but then at the same time, when scenes start to happen, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, and like, how would, you know...
horror movies do it a lot. I remember one of the ones where I was like, oh, Midsommar does it, and then like... a whole bunch of other movies do that as well, right? But with this one, it's cool to see someone's style kind of be... We were just talking about Terrifier, right? Like be refined almost immediately.
Yeah.
And in that first one, something I found disorienting about that one as well. It's in the teaser, which I remember for the first Smile, where I remember people being really annoyed by, and they're like, this movie's gonna suck, and then it didn't. Because those trailers were kind of bad, but horror movies have the same thing as like Pixar movie trailers, where for some reason they're just always bad.
But how can you even market horror movies to begin with? Because it's like you're gonna showcase some of the best scenes.
It's either gonna not look scary at all, or it's gonna be like, oh, that's every single jump scare.
Or it's like you don't even think it's a horror movie.
Yeah. Which I do unfortunately have to say, I think Smile 2 gives a little bit too much away in one of the trailers that really made me mad.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there were still plenty of scares that were not shown, thankfully, and I was kind of surprised by the amount of gore and body horror in this one as well.
Oh, yeah. This year has been a lot of body horror.
I know, it's been
like gore.
I think it's because of the amount of art house extremities that there's this polar opposite effect where they're like, why don't we also have way more of the in-your-face stuff as well? Which there's room for everything there. Horror is one of the most versatile sort of genres you can play with, and that's why there's like so many things this year. If you were to suggest Late Night with the Devil and the Substance, you're not going to get the same experience, but they are both horror movies at the end of the day.
Yes.
But with this one, I want to ask you very specifically, did you find this movie scary?
Yes, in certain elements, yes.
Yeah.
There was a moment that I got scared was when it was the nurse, the ER nurse, was sending the text messages to her.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it's like, watch this video.
Yeah.
I got so scared.
The fucking, the
shadow, and like, the entirety of that video, you don't really see anything. You feel like you see a shadow, like of a body of some sort in the room, and then once like you think the video, like once the video's over, it just pans out to like her and like the guy, what's his name?
Oh, not
his name.
Lucas Gage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just like, you just see him and he just screams.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that definitely scared
Sometimes
me.
I think that demon's very petty. And it's kind of like, sometimes if you argue there's a little bit too many jump scares, maybe that one, because it's so effective anyway without that like of course they have to add that, and you're like, oh, I cannot, like I love the unnerving sensation here. I do think that Parker Finn is kind of testing you in the sense of, I've never seen, the first one struck me in the sense that I will argue that jump scares have their place, because the first one has some that are unpredictable.
Yes.
You don't even know when, because there's this structure. Your mind thinks it's day, it's night. If it's day, nothing will happen. If it's night, that's when everything happens. The first one, since it's testing your own sanity as a viewer, translates here that you never really know.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even when like the scenes would happen where like a jump scare would occur, you think it's just a continuation of what that scene just happened. And so that's where, even when the first one, when a lot of the times where she's like losing her mind, like the fight she had an argument with her sister in the first one. Yeah. And after the argument was finished, and it was at like in front of her house, the sister's house, she gets into her car.
The car, yeah.
I was just like, whoa, what the heck?
I was hoping you brought that one up, because that one is like, that was the one that stuck with me in the first one.
Right? Because I was just like, whoa, that was out of nowhere. Because you think it's like a continuation, or she thinks like, you know what, I'm sorry for what you said. Like, I need to believe in you, right? You know, like things that you would expect to happen, but it's just a complete opposite. Yeah. And I think it's just because of something that we've seen so many times beforehand.
And then the head twist, because they can do all these things.
Yes.
The demon can with the visual here. And can I tell you, I'm gonna ask you what your favorite like scare sequence was outside of that in a second.
Oh, the first one or the second one?
The second one. Mine was this one that I think I read was an homage to the movie Perfect Blue, which is an anime film about a pop star losing their mind. And the movie's incredible. Obviously influential on this, and other people have said that as well. But it's this scene where she turns on the lights and there's a crowd of people in her apartment.
Dude, okay, yeah, that's my favorite scene too. I all that, seeing that is so too much. Yeah,
the visual alone. It was the fact that they're all coordinated, the choreography, the twisted element of the beginning where she's first doing her thing, and then they're showing the practice over and over, but then it switches the inverse. I fall for stuff like that every single time movies do it.
And it's just like the shot of her face and then the face of all of them. Yeah. And it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And it's like you just feel the screen itself just feels so compacted.
Yeah. That's another thing I love about Parker Finn. He makes the characters feel isolated and you feel stuck with them. If you look at a bunch of screenshots from Smile, there's one that's iconic and it's like on the Blu-ray now. She's barely in the movie in the first one. Oh. And it's the thing of her face, and it's so up close.
Yeah, it's in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah. And if you look at a lot of the scenes out of context in this franchise, all the scare scenes, they are very up close and personal, which makes me want to talk about Naomi Scott's performance in this movie.
She did an amazing job.
Yeah, she's going for something. Like, I don't know if a lot of people have been saying, did she give too much to this movie? No. Like, what do you mean? That? Some people think that, like, sometimes I don't understand. People have this view of horror still. Okay. That's like, I don't like the idea of less than in terms of other movies. Sometimes people think that. Why? I don't know. And people are like, why is Naomi Scott giving this level of performance in this movie? Because it, because it requires it. What do you mean?
Why is that bad?
Did she go above and beyond? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Did you like her?
It works. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think she just did a great job in just showcasing like what the audience, how the audience would react to it.
Yeah, and it's a tricky balance. She's kind of unlikable in some certain ways. Yes. And there's things about her that are selfish, and she's kind of self-sabotaging herself.
Yes.
That third act, I like to assume that that guy was real when they're in the bar area, and she cuts off her one opportunity to go further and actually fix it. And then that's whenever she cuts off, and that's it for her at that point. The rest of it, I don't know what's real, I don't know what isn't.
Yeah, because I can't... The ending of this movie... To me, that was when I was like, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was... After that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely my favorite. Like, definitely better than the first one, for sure.
Yeah. There's so much of it that's effective. There's not anybody that's really unlikable to me in this one either.
Yeah.
Because I do remember having an issue with the boyfriend character in the first one as well.
I didn't like him either.
And with this one, it's so assured, and all the characters... Sometimes I feel dumb when I don't guess a really obvious twist. The thing with her friend initially feels like a really easy resolution.
Right?
Up until you're like, oh my god. It felt like an easy resolution because it was an easy resolution because it was never real. That's brilliant. That's so smart.
And I think just because the way they treated her character as the best friend, where she just says like these like quirky things.
She did, right?
And you just think like, oh, well, she's just like that.
Yeah.
And we just assume her, especially when she says ride or die.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, well, yeah, that's what you expect what your best friend would say.
Yeah, like I would always say that. Like if you were, smiling at me like you are right now. And like, I'm frowning.
Oh my gosh.
The frowny demon.
But I was thinking after the movie was over, I was like, on the scenes where, what was real and what was fake.
Yeah.
Too. And I was like, well, the mom never really said anything to her.
Right? Yeah.
And I was just thinking like stuff like that where I'm like, nothing was ever said to Gemma.
They pulled off a very, very obvious Sixth Sense twist. How they did it, I don't know. But I felt dumb because I never guessed it. Yeah. And I was like, damn it. I hate when things get me like that. But also I was like, of course. And before we get into the ending stuff, I do want to talk about the themes are there for this movie. I think that these movies aren't getting enough credit for the fact that they kind of really are really good at touching on the idea of mental health and the deconstruction of psychosis and going insane, and that in a visual manner. I highly respect, and I think that it's really hard to pull off that immersion for your audience to also go insane with you. And then once you hit the credits on these, you're like, oh my god. Like, I think genuinely, both this one and the first one, but especially this one, once the credits roll, you're kind of like, thank god, actually.
Yeah, I was like, I'm out of this.
Yeah. And I don't know if you feel that same way. Do you feel like how immersed you feel into these?
Oh, absolutely. Even with the first one, I felt that way too, because you're still following along the character through this, and you're like, what was even real and what was fake?
I still don't know. The movie won't tell you either, and I love that about it. I love that it refuses to explain. You might never know. I do have a theory like the third one will be open, because I'm kind of surprised, they blew their load like at the end of the second one here, and we'll get into the ending here.
No, I agree with you.
But I know you're smiling, but
no.
The third one's obviously going to be like pop star Skye Riley, and then everybody's, because I had a question about how the rules work for these. If they document that on camera and then they show it on the news or something, does that also apply to the people that happened with, on the news? Or no,
because it has to be witnessed. But the fact that she did that to herself in front of other witness people.
Yeah, it was 1 million people or whatever.
In that, I imagine, I don't know, I would think they would all have the curse now.
Yeah, and with the third one, who knows what that'll be. And I'm curious, but for now, let's talk about this one, because this one is really, really good. And it's going to be what I could see myself watching this one
absolutely.
Every year.
I was already thinking, I want to buy both of these movies.
Yeah. Do I want to see this in theaters again? It's kind of a lot for just how I feel. But so much of it's so well done. Some of the other scare sequences I really like is the one at like the gala thing with.
I really like the assistant too. I think it's a lot of the characters, even the side characters, were very enjoyable to watch.
They were likable, and there was like a thing about them that they weren't. They were sympathetic, is what I would say, and I think that pretty much everything is a step above. I do also want to talk about a couple things here, craft-wise. The cinematography. These movies, especially this one, are beautiful. I love the costume design as well. All the pop star stuff looks great.
I love the choreography.
Sick New Balance 9060s on Naomi Scott. Just want to say I noticed those.
I was like thinking, huh, those looks like shoes that Daniel would wear.
I do have 2 pairs of those.
Yeah.
But I also love the choreography.
Yeah, I love the dance. Yeah, in the very beginning, I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, and I'm surprised if we're gonna talk about missed opportunity. I'm surprised they didn't do something with that actually, like during one of the scenes if she's dancing, like different people looking at her. But I mean, like outside of that,
that scene alone, it was just all scene where like in her apartment and all the dance. What is it called? What are they called? Like dance.
The choreography.
Yeah, the people there.
Yeah,
and just showing up in her place, and it's just silence.
Can I tell you one other one that I love that I wish wasn't in the trailer, but I get it? I love this idea that a young girl is so starstruck by her and the face she's giving, because you never know if that's her or not. And I think they kind of reveal that it's just like a girl that's obsessed with her. And I love the payoff of I do not know why the demon added this. I know that it's like going, like, people keep joking about it. But when the stalker guy and he's undressed and his underwear's like dirty or whatever, like
you're the demon guy. Come on,
you're like, come on. If we're gonna mess around with it, he's like, we gotta get what's funny and what's not funny, you know. But let's go ahead and talk about, before we get into the ending, because I know you love it.
Come on, bro.
What are your negatives?
I guess because they just briefly touched about with the ER nurse, and I guess him following along, and I would love to know more about. I don't know. I'm just so eager to know how long this has been going on and more about the curse itself.
I will say,
just because it keeps teasing, and the fact that it was almost brought up in a way with the ER nurse.
Part of you wants to know, though, but does part of you also not want to know, or do you feel like they should explain this at some point?
At some point, yes, they should. They should say something. Yeah. Just because it does feel, I feel like this will just get really repetitive. Yeah. And so I don't know how far, especially since like what you said, how the ending they showcase like everybody.
No, come on, they're gonna make like 6 or 7 of these, right? And then
dang, 6 or 7 of them.
I'm just guesstimating, but the fact that Paramount has a huge hit on their hands and they could make one of these every couple of years and have a consistent October release, there's gonna be bound at a point. It's just how studios work. One of these is gonna be really bad. Yeah. And it's gonna be at what point though do they stop? We don't know. But for now, the second one's amazing. I think it's a step above your average sort of what people say about the first one, I think. I think that first one's also a step above that. But I
say it's definitely better than Dead Silence.
The James Wan movie? Hey. I like that movie.
Did I like it?
I don't know.
I don't
do you like Dead Silence? I do. I like
what was the twist again?
In that one?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was something crazy.
It was something crazy. I'll look it up after. It is something crazy, though. I love Dead Silence and Malignant. But
I thought it was alright.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm excited for the new one that the same director or writer is making.
James Wan. I'm excited for anything James Wan. And
Fast and Furious.
He did make that.
Yeah.
If we were to talk about negatives here with me, there's probably one jump scare too many. But I will also defend all of the other ones as well.
I don't know. I didn't think there was a lot of jump scares.
Really?
Maybe that or just like didn't work on me.
Oh, you're like...
So I guess...
Oh, loud.
I was like, oh, that was loud.
I think that these movies really work in terms of the fact that they really, really kind of prey on you getting anxious. Yes. The scene, oh my God, where the car accident's coming, and the ability to pan between Ray Nicholson, who does look exactly like Jack Nicholson, and then her... back and forth before you know it, like it's coming, and then the jump scare actually really doesn't happen the one you think will.
That's Jack Nicholson's son. I see that now.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why it's kind of like a stunt casting a little bit, because the moment whenever she's at the gala and she like pushes the old lady off the table. Is that real? I bet.
I want that to be real.
No, if I were to, like I told you, if I were to assume, I think the gala happens, she gets checked into the psychiatric hospital for like the night, and then the tour happens the next day, and she made up everything.
Yeah.
And that leads into that third act. But I love the structure here. I love that we don't know. I think that's genuinely awesome that we do not know what is real and what isn't here. So let's go ahead and talk about, is it a twist ending? It's a really effective ending is what it is.
I say it's a twist.
It is because a twist, yeah.
At this point, because I'm like, what was real, what was fake? Because you're saying like it may start where this the facility is.
Yeah.
I like it where the idea where it started where the ER nurse, where she denies the ER nurse, saying like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to kill myself and then bring myself back to life again.
And then from that point,
yes.
Is that why you said the upside down thing? Because that's the scene where they tilt through the.
It happens. That's what I'm saying, and like that's where I'm like, is that where like you kind of figure it out? But at the same time, why would the director give it away?
I think there are visual indicators, but it's also sort of like, are they throwing that at us as a red herring? So we think that.
Yes.
And I think the ending though is amazing.
The moment where the demon itself of like her.
Yeah.
From her past closes the doors.
Oh right, yeah.
Dude, I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Now, is the actual ending itself, like everybody getting it, predictable for the fact that it's like a pop star?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I expected to see a scene like that, and the idea of it not showing up for a bit, I was like, oh damn, they're not gonna go that route.
Yeah.
So I was shocked by that.
No, you know what would have happened though if they wouldn't have done that? People would have been like, why didn't they do that? Missed opportunity. And so I get the compromise there. But the demon, especially in the first one, like is so freaky looking. And I believe that the first one is also an animatronic.
Oh. And
this one I think also is, but even if it isn't, that is a freaky design, especially when you see it in the middle of like a concert venue and you're like, I don't know if Cooper Trapp from Trapp could handle that himself either. But he could do anything. He's already insane. He'd be like, I'm already insane. He could beat him. But
no, he can't, dude.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Anyway, did you like the sort of the final moments of this movie? Because
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I loved everything about the final moments of this. I think my favorite part about the first one and the second one was basically seeing the off-screen kill.
Yeah.
And you just see like the other person's face and like the horror of it. And I think that's supposed to showcase the fact that they're the ones getting the curse as well, because that's what happened in the first one with the ex-boyfriend. Like you see the visual of like the protagonist like in his eyeball.
Oh right.
Yeah, like her being burnt up and everything.
These movies do get kind of really gory occasionally, and like again, like I said, they're not Terrifier, but this one went further than I thought it would. Really, the thing with the weight is really impactful, and the ending of I know I was like, nice, good job me. But the ending with this, with like the mouth opening, and then there's also something for me about seeing rows of teeth that freaks me the fuck out, and I don't know how to explain it. But I agree with you. The off-screen death of Naomi Scott's character and just watching everybody's reaction and then the aftermath, that's so incredibly well done.
Yes. I
think that the ending to this movie is one that sticks with you a bit. These movies do feel hopeless. They feel kind of like
how's this gonna...
Yeah, you're like this. You're also kind of rooting for them, but then you're also... I do wonder if the third one, if it has another downer ending, if they're like, all right, guys, we need to
kill this curse now.
Yeah.
Get the Ghostbusters.
No, let's not do that. they're going to make another one. But let's go ahead and wrap up our thoughts here, Erwin. Overall, what'd you think of this?
I'd say I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Better than the first one.
Yeah.
I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I want to give it like such a higher score really bad. Nothing. Yeah. I know nothing's stopping me. But... That's true. Yeah, you know what? Why not?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay, fine. So, a tentative 4 out of 5 for right now, but I just want you guys to know that I really want to give this a 4.5 out of 5. But maybe it's recency bias, but I do think this movie's amazing. Really worth your time. I think
it's definitely worth watching in theaters.
It is. Please do. Unless you have like some sort of... If you really, really get aggravated by movies that, will like affect your anxiety a bit. This is like top of the line stuff there. Yeah. Anyway, guys, what are they gonna do?
They're gonna like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. And what did you think of Smile 2? What are we gonna do?
Watch?
Smile 2.
Oh, Smile 2.
Oh no. But thank you guys so
That
much
was lame, dude.
you laughed. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Up next, we'll have a review for you for We Live in Time. So again, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We will see you next time.